Hello everyone, it's Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming a super exciting video because I have to tell Samantha about Project Pyro because it's pretty much done. It's ready for her eyes. Why don't I make a video taking you guys through everything I need to do to tell her about it. Now granted, she already knows that it exists. She knows that she's supposed to be getting a copy sometime at the end of summer, so she knows kind of the basic idea that I was writing a YA thriller, that it's kind of gritty, it's kind of Appalachian, it deals with a lot of like exploration of disability stuff, but she's never seen a pitch for it. Mainly because a pitch doesn't exist. Let's do something fun. Let's put a whole package together, like a gift bag or a gift basket of Project Pyro. First thing I have to make is a query or a pitch so that she knows what it's about. This is also something that when we go on submission, she will send to publishers so they know what it's about. Query writing is so hard, as many of you know, so I thought I would take you along with me as I kind of put it together step by step, how I figure out how I'm doing it. I'm probably gonna send her some mood boards, usually the ones that I just like pop up on the screen when I'm talking about the project, just so she can get, you know, the vibes. A little playlist of something to write to. If you've seen any of my vlogs where I'm working on this book, I'm always listening to this one. It's a really good kind of creepy banjo forest sounds. Is really great, so I'm gonna send her that. Another thing I'm gonna be working on in this video is figuring out some comp titles. I have a few ideas in my head, but I'd really like to explore. Maybe I'll search around on Goodreads, see what I find. And then last but not least, we need to actually draft the email telling Sam, like, hey, surprise, I wrote something and you can read it now. Okay, first thing, I want to work on the query because I feel like that's going to be the biggest mountain to tackle. So let's go over to the computer screen. And first we want to start with brainstorming. Brainstorm a query letter. First things first, I'm going to compile a list of basic info. This would be like the title, the word count, the genre, age, category, and let's do some comps too. Next, I think it might be a good idea to list out some flashy, marketable things that are in the book. Then I need to make a list of possible comp titles. One good thing to do also is to read some pitches on Goodreads just to see how other authors are doing it. I might do that, or because I've written successful queries pitches before, I can kind of go over and look at those and see if, like, you know, any of that sparks ideas for me. And then the last thing to do would be to label the parts of a query. You guys are finding out how bad of a typer I am. You know what it is also? I'm trying to type super small. I need to go 18. I don't have my glasses on. We're just making this big. We're making this grandma size. Let's go ahead and write out the basic info just so I have that out of the way. Title, Project Pyro. Word count, I believe, is around 59K right now. Genre, I'm not sure about. I think I'm gonna call it a social horror thriller for now. Age category is YA. Comps I'm gonna leave blank for now because I'm going to be brainstorming those later. That's this off the list. Now let's separate and go to typing out some flashy or marketable things. This is gonna be like any type of big buzzword that could possibly draw someone in. It's usually someone who has a very niche thing that they like. One thing I know right off the bat is this has mixed media, which is gonna be a buzzword to some people. It's also got like Southern Gothic Appalachian vibes. It definitely has elements of true crime, which is a buzzword for some people, and it involves a YouTuber. It takes place at a boarding school. It does have disability rep, which is going to be, you know, a buzzword for some people that are looking for that type of representation or people that want to publish that type of representation. But okay, let's go ahead and mark that part off. List of possible comps. I already have this kind of done. I've been working on this for months now, and so I'm just gonna copy and paste them in from somewhere else. I have them, and then we can talk about them real quick. Okay, let me walk you through what I've got here. So what I decided to do was make different categories of possible comp situations. So basically, I at first separated out adult and YA comps because in my publishing trends video, I see a lot of the time that there are comps that are out of the age category, and so that's allowed. So I was like, cool, let me do that. And it just so happens that my favorite comps are actually adults, which is a little bit unfortunate, but anyway. Lock Every Door by Riley Sager and When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, as well as Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. And I'm just realizing the highlighted portion, not all of these are adult. But anyway, the reason that the next section is highlighted is because these are things that I've gotten from the library to read to see if they would be good comps. We have Gothic Town, which is a Southern Gothic thriller. This is actually written by one of Samantha's other clients, so that would be kind of fun to figure out. Boys with Sharp Teeth is a YA horror, I believe, like nah, it's really more of a thriller. It just has a really, really dark vibe. And in fact, I've already started reading this and I think it is a wonderful comp. So I am gonna go ahead and add it to the list just because the main character is dark and gritty. She's going to a boarding school. She has like a vendetta that she's out to quench, and it's kind of written in a flowery yet gritty tone. So I think it's just a really, really good comp. Needy Little Things is a YA thriller. I think this is just about a girl whose friend goes missing and not trusting the police and media to do enough on their own. The main character takes it upon herself to investigate. And I feel like that plot line is pretty close to what's going on with my main character. Then I grabbed Kill Creatures by Rory Power, and it's just like about a girl 1 year into her friend's disappearance, deaths or whatever. She's at the funeral and then all of a sudden one of the girls walks in and she's like, how is this possible? Because I'm the killer. I killed you. How are you here? And then I also picked up The Tournament, which is another one I have already started as well. And this one is set at a boarding school with a competition between a bunch of girls. And it looks like it's going to be kind of, again, gritty. And then the best one that I could think for the YA category was Their Vicious Games. Again, you can kind of see why. It's kind of one of those bonkers, ridiculous thrillers that you just go with and it like hits so hard. It's so good. It is so just, you never know where it's going. You never know where it's going because it's just so off the walls. It's so fun. It is so good. It deals with a lot of themes of wealth and inequality and things like that. My book is also exploring that, so that's a great comp. And then stylistically, I also like to think of some comp titles. Rory Power, Jenny Meyer Saint, who writes a lot of YA thrillers that are set in the South. And then Courtney Summers, just because she writes a little bit more character-driven, hard-hitting stuff. Plot-wise, I wrote down Sadie just because that's the best thing that I could think of with it being kind of mixed media. And then Sadie is like looking for her missing sister. Setting-wise, again, we have Starling House. When Devils Sing is a new YA release that is really good. It's actually a YA horror, but it's set in Georgia. And then genre, I said Jessica Goodman. I don't know what I'm doing with this, but genre-wise, it's like Karen McManus, Jessica Goodman, Lauren Muniz, I think is her name. Those are big ones in the genre right now. Do I think my books perfectly align with the vibes of those books? Not really, but it still might be good to just be aware of the top writers in your current genre. I don't know. A real quick little thing I want to talk about with comps is that I think a lot of people stress themselves out over comps. You don't need to do that. I think that they're nice to have, but they're not a deal breaker. And also you have to remember the point of comparison titles and the point of querying in general is marketability, is to get the agent to ask for a partial, to ask for a full, or to get a publisher to take it to second reads. Like the goal of them is to market. So if something doesn't perfectly align with some aspect of your book, but it works and it's marketable and it's flashy, pop it in. You know, how many times do we watch videos or see reviews that people read this book and they're like, this was so mismarketed, it was pitched as ABC, but then you read it and it's not like that. And it's like, actually that was perfectly marketed because you're holding it in your hands, which means you spent money on it, which is the point of marketing. So just like a little down and dirty tip for you, publishers are using these types of things to market their book, not worry about the actual like validity of them sometimes. I mean, it's got to be close. It's got to be, I'm not saying like comp it to something absolutely wild, but something that just like slightly nudges the vibe and is very marketable is what they do. So I see no reason why you can't do the same. List of comps we have done. I'm gonna skip reading some pitches on Goodreads, but I do think that that's really good advice for most people since I already have 3 or 4 pitches from all my previous books. I'm just gonna read over those. Now we are going to move down to labeling the parts of the query / pitch. First things first, I'm gonna kind of skip the informational basics at the top. You're usually like, hello agent, this is my blah 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 genre book at this many word count, blah blah blah. I'm gonna skip over that for now and just go to the meat of the pitch. So your intro sentence, maybe 2, is talking about the current status quo, where your main character is before the inciting incident kicks off, how their life is, where they are mentally, like with their character arc, like where they're starting. If they're starting off as a selfish person, you would write that in here. If they're starting off weak, cowardly, shy, whatever. This is kind of where you would hint at that. Then we would have the inciting incident. This is what is the act that is kicking off your story and making your character get involved in the plot. The plan. What is your character's plan of action now that the inciting incident is popped off and their life has forever changed? What are they going to do about it? This is not only the plan of action, but this is the majority of your plot. If this is a mystery book, you're going to talk about your investigation here. If this is a romance, this is going on your dates. Complications, stakes of the book, like what is going to interrupt them basically from immediately reaching their goal. What makes this book harder? What makes it harder for them to change as a character? And then the last part will be character change. This is usually either growth or decay, as a person? How has going through everything in the plan and dealing with the complication stakes changed them from who they were in the status quo? So now I'm going to add some space and start filling these things in. The status quo of the book. Okay, where do we start? My main character's name is Crystal. So where does Crystal kind of start at the beginning of the book? Let me just write myself some notes. So what I know about her in general is she is a YouTuber. And she is a YouTuber because her sister disappeared. I know that she's poor and she's had trouble with the law before. She is also disabled. She also has a big secret. So these are all starting concepts that I could kind of look at to make a sentence or two talking about where we are in the beginning. Let's move on to the inciting incident. So this is when my main character's bestie at school is attacked, but no one under her bestie's name is registered at the school, or like, you know, i.e. bestie on paper doesn't exist. That is the inciting incident. Okay, and then the plan from there, figure out what happened to bestie. Oh, and then I guess I would say character-wise, because you don't want to forget character when you're making one of these things. Agents are always really looking for that show of an arc in your query. So Crystal's whole thing in the book is that she's trying very hard to have a fresh start and to be better, to not be what her name says that she has to be. In her hometown, her family has like an infamy around them. So she's trying to shed that, let that all go, become someone new. So she's just trying to be good. Like, this is her thing. She's gonna try to figure out what happened to her bestie, but stay good at the same time. You know, not light people on fire for fun. Okay, complication stakes. So I'm not really sure what direction I want to take this. I know that as the plot goes on, someone is messing, oh my gosh, messing with her, breaking into her room, hacking her phone, etc. Also, more girls are disappearing around her. And all of this is making it very difficult for Crystal to stay good, making her want to set everything on fire. That's shorthand, but I will know what that means. And then let's go down to change of character. Like, where is she in the end? The only way I can think of this is in terms of prose. I can't think of like shorthand the way that I've been doing all the others. You just write it down and see if it makes sense. Okay, so she struggles to toe the line between who she is and who she should be. And the only way to find answers to all of these complication stakes, the plan, all this stuff to like reach her goal of finding her friend, might just be to go bad and be real nasty. So this is how I start a pitch query. As you can see, its concepts is way broken down. And what I will do is I will look at each one of these individual sections and think of good, fun ways, flashy ways, marketable ways that I could make this into a sentence and make it a query. We just build up. Like, it's literally just stepping stones. So if you're overwhelmed from a query, don't be. It's literally just start with the base, then add the next layer, then add the next layer. Okay, one more thing that I do that I think is actually fancy, important, is voice in a query. Okay, and it's very, very hard to, I know this is kind of like Author 2.0. This isn't like basic stuff, and I don't like, I'm not good at teaching people writing, so I feel like I might not be able to talk about this in some good ways the way that some other Authortubers who do craft videos do. But voice, I think, is very important. A lot of times voice is what distinguishes an okay book from a good book, or a good book from a great book, and it's also going to give you a very sharp edge in the querying trenches, or even on submission when it's just such an oversaturated field. And I get it, not everybody has a super distinct voice, and that's okay. It's just going to be a little bit harder for you to make a more flashy query prose-wise. That's why having a really flashy concept in general, or a really flashy comp title or whatever, is also very important. It's all just, you know, a mix of everything. So if you're overwhelmed with what I'm about to show you, don't be. Again, voice is something you can learn, something you can practice. It comes a lot through reading other authors who are voicey and kind of like trying out your own thing, seeing what you like. But what I want to do is I want to give this pitch a little bit of an edge, and I want to display a little bit of the writing and prose that you can expect to be reading in my book. So I'm gonna add in a little extra section down here where I'm gonna talk about prose vibes. So since this is an Appalachian story, putting in any Southernisms, there is a lot of symbolism around flames and fire. If I can work that into the query somewhere, that would be good. Also, any metaphors that are just violent and general. Words like knife, blood, teeth, bite, that's what I've got. So I just like to kind of have this written out so I can kind of know, like, when I'm using a simile, a metaphor, whatever, what is the vibe of that I'm going for. I want to make sure when you read this query, you know you are in the mood for something southern, you're in the mood for something dark. Don't go into this, you know, thinking that this is going to be fun, giggly, good times all the time. So that's what I want to be able to portray with my language. Okay, keeping all of that in mind, I am going to move back up to the top of this document and I'm going to try to do some prosy stuff in there. I'm going to try to write it out, see if I can figure it out, and then I will be back to you. Okay, so I've got kind of a firsty drafty feeling of the intro. As you can see, I've highlighted the pieces that I took from the status quo notes and how I kind of put them in there. This is a very rough draft, but in the back holler of Kiss Book of the Kentucky, the name McCollum means something, and that something has teeth. I freaking love that, by the way. Amazing. That is a way to show a little bit of voice while still telling you that their family is infamous, just doing it in kind of a fun way. So, Crystal McCollum and a metaphor? Listen, we're not doing meth right now. We're already zany up. And I put some kind of metaphor because I'm like, how can we also make this a bit darker? I don't know. That's something I'll figure out later. But Crystal McCollum is hardened by years in and out of juvie, her hitman father, her disability, and the disappearance of her sister. Obviously, that's not going to stay that in specific. Specificity is really, really important with agents. They really want to get to know the situation and the character and like what's going on. So I would probably put in more about her sister's disappearance, maybe the reasons why she was in juvie, or more specifics about the disability. But for a first draft, this is good. And then I want to put in something about YouTube because I really do feel like that is a flashy, marketable thing, and I want to try to introduce that as soon as possible so an editor could get hooked really fast. I think what I need to do, because I really need to get in here and focus on this, is that because I'm going to be in here hyper focusing longer than both my computer and camera can record for. I think I'm just gonna shut you guys off for a minute, get into the zone, and kind of work on the rest of this, see what I get, and then I'll check back in. Okay, we can tell it's got serious. My hair is up. I changed into a t-shirt. I've got a first draft down. Some of it I'm very proud of. Other parts I need some work, but it's fine. It's fine. We're gonna just show this to you. What I've decided to do, first of all, what you're looking at is all of the pieces of the outline that we did together. I went ahead and bolded just so you can see the difference between that and then the actual stuff that I'm writing below. And I'm still highlighting parts that came from the parts above, essentially. I already showed you the first paragraph. I haven't touched that. I did the inciting incident paragraph. So when an unexpected invitation to an elite prep boarding academy, which is way too many words, but it does talk about the boarding academy, which was one of the buzzy words, so I highlighted it, comes for Crystal, she snatches the opportunity to start anew and shed her past like a snakeskin. So snakeskin is kind of like giving that violent vibe again. We're like linking that back in to the whole like has teeth thing from above, and then starting anew is hinting at her character arc. Like there's something going on, she wants to start over basically. Crystal witnesses her best friend's kidnapping, after which campus security gives her the strongest reason of all to bare her fangs. I forgot to highlight that. Again, bearing fangs, teeth, snake, viper vibes, weaving it in. According to the school's roster, Arya never existed. And then we have the plan. So dismissed and furious, Crystal dives fist first into investigating Arya's kidnapping, not caring if her enemies catch a few strays in the process. I'm pretty happy with that. I love the fist first idea because, like, you know, she's angry, she's mean, she's like, you know, trying to be good, but obviously this is showing she's kind of failing at that. And then complications, stakes, and the character change grow, the last two parts I just kind of combined together. So it says, but enemies have veneered smiles and deep pockets, which while it doesn't stick with the whole thing of like snake, teeth, whatever, it's still a little bit metaphoric and artistic. So I think that that will just show that, you know, I have a little bit of range. It doesn't all have to be snake metaphors. And it's just a funner way of saying enemies here are hella rich. Enemies here have veneered smiles and deep pockets, and the more Crystal uncovers, the more convinced she is that the only way to clear out a bed of vipers is to become one. Good thing she was born a McCollum. We have a first draft of the query. There's lots of it that I want to tinker with still. So what I'm gonna do now is I am going to look over this and I'm gonna do a second draft of it. I'm gonna fix the things that I'm kind of talking about that I don't love, that I want to make more specific, build from the ground up. Okay, I think I have a draft. I think that I am happy enough with this one that this is what I'm going to end off sending to my critique partner just to get her eyes on it. She's really good at critiques. And in fact, if you're part of the Patreon and you are I believe it's 2nd tier and up, you get 15% off all of her services. I want to quickly also show the word count here. You can see in the bottom corner down here, we're at 193 words, which is pretty good given a query letter would usually have like an outro, about you, paragraph, and you would have the paragraph above that tells you, you know, the basic information about your book. You want to try to keep your query around 1 page total or 250 words if possible. The closer to that, the better. So now, given that, let's just read over it and I can show you what I've got. So, and I feel like you have to read this in a Southern accent or it's not correct. I'm not gonna do it, but in your head, read it that way. In the back holler of Kispokotha, Kentucky, the name McCollum means something, and that something usually has teeth. It's coming out anyway. Here we go. Okay, Crystal McCollum is one such viper. Hardened by years of juvie, her hitman father, a degenerative bone disease, and the recent disappearance of her sister, which inspired her true crime YouTube channel dedicated to sharing the facts the police didn't care to investigate. Then comes the unexpected, a mysterious invitation to the elite Wesley Stoat Academy, a fresh start for Crystal, who longs to shed her past like a snakeskin and become something more than her last name. But when Crystal witnesses her best friend Aria's abduction, campus security gives her the strongest reason of all to keep her fangs. According to the school's roster, Aria never existed. Dismissed and furious, Crystal dives fist first into an investigation of Aria's kidnapping, not caring if her enemies catch a few strays in the process. But this ain't the backwoods. Enemies here have veneered smiles and deep pockets, and the more Crystal uncovers, the more she believes the only way to clear out a bed of vipers is to become one. Good thing she's ready-made. I know it still probably needs some work. There are parts, especially maybe in the top paragraph, that need a little bit of trimming, but it gets the point across, it gets the vibe across. Hopefully it lets you know what you're in for when you pick up my book. And yeah, that's how I read a query. Hello. Okay, so it is a little bit later. I'm going to show you what I've got. I've been working on compiling the document of just like basic information. We have Project Pyro information, word count, age category, genre, and then the list of comps. I went ahead and went with these guys right here, and I can kind of let her decide since she's the industry professional which ones are the best to use, but I'm going to give her lots of options. And then I did go ahead and kind of give her an overall vibe for the project. I don't know if I want to say it's like a 1-sentence pitch, because usually there's like a formula for that. You need like your stakes, your character arc, blah blah blah. This doesn't have this. This is just like a sweeping, overarching, like when someone's like, oh, what is your book explore, like what's the theme? Project Pyro is a good for her, disabled rage, social horror thriller exploring the murky intersection between disability and wealth in backwaters Appalachia. And then I went ahead and just copy and pasted the query letter that we did together. I did make some slight adjustments. I cut some things and strengthened some other things, but it is essentially the pitch that I showed you, just hopefully a little bit more polished. Now I just need to type up the actual email that I'm going to be sending her. And just like everything else I do it in drafts and I work up from there. So let's just do this. Draft. Hey Sam, might have another book for you. Remember when we talked on the phone about a potential YA social horror thriller idea that I was going to send you by the end of summer? Just give her a little brief reminder. Well, it's ready. I am not professional enough to be in this industry, you guys. In all seriousness, I thought I'd go ahead and send what I have along to you, and you just fit it in your schedule wherever you can. No pressure. I've added another document as well that includes a pitch, some basic information and possible comp titles, though I'm very open to suggestions. And as a special little treat, I've added a link for background music to listen to while you read, and some fun mood boards just for the vibes, all caps. Anyway, here it is. And then because I'm self-conscious, I am going to write in an asterisk, runs and hides. Lindsay. Okay. So that's a draft of what I will send her. I will now take the next few minutes and kind of go over it and make it a little bit less self-conscious, a little more professional mayhaps, and get this ready. And I also need to put in the link to the YouTube video below as well. Mind you, at the time that I'm filming this, my critique partner is not yet done reading, so I won't actually be sending it off in this video. However, this is it. I mean, this is everything that I'm sending her. The email, the information sheet, all of the links, all of the mood boards, the pitch. Yeah, wild. I can't believe we're here. Oh my gosh, go red. I hope that this video was helpful for you guys. I hope that like writing the query and seeing the whole process kind of helped you guys like pull the veil back on how I do this, how I really just take it from the ground up. Like I don't like just sit there and then a perfect query. No, like I really work foundation up. Query writing's hard. Anyways, I hope you found that helpful. I don't know, things are like revving up and I'm starting to get really excited about this book, and oh, I don't know, I hope that we get to go on submission this fall and like maybe good things will happen. I don't know, cross your fingers for me. We'll see, because Samantha still has to read it and she probably is still gonna want to do some edits and stuff like that. So yeah, but I'm really excited for it. It's a really fun one. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to order my 2 books that I already have out. They're available. Links are down below. You can also hang out with me on the Patreon. If you want like a little writing community, it's a really fun place to be. But yeah, thanks again, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!